Today I'm going to show you how to replace the physical home button on your iPhone 5, not the flex cable, but the actual button. Although using this video, you can also change out the flex cable if you have a defective home button. So you can see I had my stabilizer here. This is a suction cup that I use to hold the LCD in place. We have our two pentalobe screws on the bottom of the phone. And the reason I put that orange thing over on the side is because when we open up the phone, we don't want to have any of the weight from the LCD resting on the flex cable. So we're going to prop this up here, you'll see shortly. The tricky thing about this is you want to be very careful when you're prying down here at the bottom. As I mentioned, suction cups rarely work as far as opening the phone, so you're going to actually go underneath the glass with your very thin pry tool very carefully. Whenever you're working with metal on glass, you want to make sure you don't put too much stress on it. And once you get this opened up just a little bit, we're going to switch over to a soft pry tool. And you'll see here in a moment this one kind of slipped and it likes to close back up. So you have to kind of hold it propped open for a second, and then once you get your other pry tool in here, we'll just kind of work our way down the sides. Make sure you're getting underneath the entire plastic frame in between the metal housing and the LCD frame. Otherwise that will actually split right between the glass and the plastic that goes around the outside. So what we'll do is work our way up both sides of the phone here just very carefully. And again, don't pull too hard. We're just going to kind of open it up from the bottom to the top, and then you'll see that it's resting over there on that little suction cup, because until we remove the flex cables, we don't want to have it hanging by that. Down here we have two screws that hold the battery terminal in. So this little metal plate we are going to remove in order to disconnect the battery. You don't necessarily have to do this, but I do recommend anytime you're taking out an LCD, and just go ahead and release this pop connector. It's a good idea to disconnect the battery first, just in case. Up here we have three additional screws that hold the plate in, which covers the LCD digitizer and front-facing camera connectors. So we'll take these three out. You'll notice that the one on the top left-hand corner of the phone that we're looking at, it is not magnetic, so it went flying across the mat here, so you're gonna have to keep an eye out for that. It will not stick to your screwdriver. The plate kind of slides down towards the battery and will release, and inside we'll have three pop connectors. You'll notice one of mine is missing the padding from the back side for whatever reasons. Probably got in a hurry when I put this in. In any case, if you release these three connectors, they just lift straight off of the board, and we'll set the housing aside for now. And on the inside you'll see we have two screws that hold this metallic plate behind the button, and then you also will have adhesive underneath those gold connectors. So once these two screws come out, don't go too far ahead. You want to make sure that you do release that flex cable from the glass the frame rather, because if you don't, you will tear it. So I like to put a little bit of heat on here. You'll also notice that my home buttons comes out relatively easy. That's because it has been removed before. You may have to use additional heat, and be very careful when you pull the button out, because you don't want to ruin that rubber gasket that's underneath it. You'll see here I'm going underneath just enough to get this disconnected, because there is some adhesive holding that on. And once you remove that, you can set it to the side, and you'll see mine comes right out. You may have to work on that a little bit. Try not to damage that rubber gasket. It is very important. And we are going to continue, actually proceed to remove that from the old home button very carefully. If you make any holes in this thing, basically it will allow moisture to get inside the phone. So we want to avoid that as much as possible. That little gasket is there for a reason. A lot of people have a little bit of moisture on their fingertips when they're using the phone, and you definitely don't want that leaking in the side. So a combination of heat and patience should allow you to get this gasket off in one piece. If not, you don't have to give up, but again, just be as careful as you can. And we will transfer this directly over to the new button, facing the same direction that it was on the old one. And you see I've chosen cheesy gold just for demonstration purposes here. These buttons are available in a variety of colors. You don't have to use gold. But once I put this inside, if you could, you'll want to check basically on your button, make sure it's not spinning around. If it does, if it changes position, it's kind of annoying, because you'll see a little square in the center doesn't stay straight. And that's exactly what happened with mine, because the adhesive is all worn out on the front right underneath, between the rubber piece and the glass. So what I'm going to do is cut some 3M adhesive and put it inside the area where the home button goes. I would recommend you cut this as thin as possible and try to put it as far to the side, outside of the button as you can. What I'm doing here is going to work, but it is going to impede the movement of the button slightly. So you kind of want to avoid getting the adhesive on the button itself. This is mainly meant to be attached to the rubber gasket, but I am not really that concerned with it, honestly. This is my phone. It's not really a big deal. The button will move. It will function properly. It just won't feel exactly the way your button did when you first got your phone. So if that bothers you at all, cut these strips very thin. Make sure they only go around the very outside edge of this area. Otherwise, you'll definitely notice a difference when you're clicking on it. But what this will do is prevent the button from spinning around so it doesn't get off center and your little square in the middle of the button does not get crooked. Which, by the way, this one apparently was printed off to the side, so I'm not going to recommend the vendor that I bought this from. I'm going to put some links on the webpage where you can buy higher quality buttons. I don't know how it's possible to mess up a button, but apparently these guys weren't very good at printing. I'm going to click on it here just to make sure it does spring back. Unfortunately, there's no real way to test this without using a multimeter or actually installing the LCD into the phone. So we'll go ahead and put it inside the phone and hope for the best. When you do put this back in, you're going to want to be very careful. Go ahead and prop it up again the same way that we did when we removed it. Plug your connectors onto the logic board and then make sure they don't move around, because if they shift at all, you're going to end up getting stripes on your screen and you'll have to open the thing up and put it all back together again. If at the end of this repair you have vertical, horizontal, or both types of lines going across your screen, you will have to disconnect the LCD and the touchscreen from the logic board, plug them back in, and usually that will fix the problem, so don't panic if you see that. And again, remember that one screw at the top left-hand side of the frame here is not metallic, so you'll have to put it in with tweezers, otherwise it just does not want to stick to the screwdriver. And over here on the top of the phone, you're going to notice that there are 3 tabs, and you want to make sure these tabs tuck in under the top half of the frame, and once you have them in position, make sure you keep that tucked in, and then just very slowly work your way around the edge of the glass. Don't push too hard, especially in the areas near the LCD, and make sure this all sits together flush. Once it does, we'll power it up, and I'm going to speed up the video here just a little bit because this thing takes forever to turn on, and it's not even on 7.0 yet. But when it does finally power up, we should be able to test the home button. Just hit your lock until the screen shuts off. Click on the home button, make sure it's functioning, and it looks like we are good to go. If you found the video helpful, hit the like button, share it with your friends, subscribe to my channel, and follow me on Twitter or Facebook. Post your questions in the comment section below or visit gocellphonerepair.com/forum. Thanks for watching.